Good morning and welcome to another episode of a Migrant's Journey. This is episode 28. We have had 27 amazing stories and 27 amazing people so far. And if you haven't watched any of those episodes, please head on to my YouTube channel, subscribe to it so you get notified about any new videos and binge on it. I think it's about 12 to 14 hours of content. And if you're migrating to Australia, if you're looking for a job in Australia, it'll be really helpful for you. There are a lot of hidden golden advices in there. If you're watching this for the first time, this is a series uh, which is to give you a reality check of what actually happens in your first job search. Often when we migrate to Australia or any other country for that matter, we think that it's a dream come true, and we don't actually think about what actually happens or what actually happens in the initial few months or years. With regards to culture, with regards to expectation, there's a huge mismatch usually. So these stories are here to give you a reality check, as in life is not so good to start with over here. It gets better, of course, it gets better, but the beginning can be a shocker over here. If you're watching this live or if you're watching a replay, please leave a comment on LinkedIn or YouTube. The more comments you make, the more noise you make. That's how social media algorithm works. The more people this reaches out to, and the happier you make me, and happier make them. So that's the intention. So today, I have Nisha with us. So without any boring intro by me, let's get directly to her. Good morning, Nisha. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm good, Vinesh. How are you?
Good, good. So good to see you, by the way. I think our last catch up was in the pre-COVID times. That's that's how we call it. So without any introduction, let's get straight into you. Who are you, Nisha, and what do you
Sure. So let me start with a clear description, like a job title, the basic
do?
description everybody gives.
Elevator pitch, go
And
for it.
yeah, I'll just start doing that. So I have got 8 plus years of experience in testing, and I'm currently working with Code Services Victoria with a General Technologies, and I currently work on a case management system. And basically, it's a system that allows the code processes to go online, and also a lot of users they can lodge, access, and view their cases online anytime, anywhere.
Hmm.
And I've been pretty much in testing from last 8 to 10 years, so that's all I recall doing. Yep.
Hmm.
So just
Awesome.
a brief one.
Yeah, that's all we need. So let's go straight to the beginning, Nisha. The point that you decided to migrate.
Yeah.
What preparation did you do before migrating here in Australia? I'm sure you did your um, did a quite a lot of Google research, or if you had friends or relatives over here, you did that. So what preparation did you do before arriving in Australia?
Sure. So I'll jump on to starting my journey back in 2017. I think me and my husband, we decided in 2016 starting that, okay, let's do an experiment to ourselves. And we just wanted to move out of our comfort zones and just wanted to do a bit of experiment.
Hmm.
I think that was the whole intention of us moving outside. And that's the reason we both tried and filed a PR, and we eventually got our PR on time. And 2017 was when we both moved here to Australia. And when we moved here initially, actually, when we were moving here, we were like, okay, we don't know what preparations we should have done, and what are we going to do, and how it was all a very I think a very fascinating thing for both of us. Like, okay, we are moving out of a country, and what all things we have to do. But
Yeah.
luckily, we had few friends here in Australia which were guiding us, which were giving us that information that, okay, this is the recruiters list. So you probably should go and reach out to those recruiters and let them know that this is what you are going to be making your move into, and this is what you plan to do, and things like that. So one of our friends gave us like a recruiters list, and I think he was a blessing in disguise at that point. And we started reaching out to the recruiters on LinkedIn, and we started maintaining our LinkedIn profiles. That was the first thing we did.
Yeah.
And our LinkedIn profiles were up to date. It was saying what they needed. And we also messaged the recruiters, probably not well in advance, but I would say maybe a month before we were landing here. We started pinging them and asking them for catch ups, after a month's time. Can we book in some time with you? Can we catch up with you once we come here? And I think they were pretty happy to do that. And the second important thing that was done was we made a separate email account, like a separate Outlook or probably a
Yeah.
generic email account, and that was with our first starting first name and last name. For example, my account is Nisha_Kurana at outlook.com, and
Yeah.
that's separate. That was starting the day we landed here. The first email that would probably come here is from an Australian recruiter,
Yeah.
because previously in India, when we have an email account which is full of all those spam emails, and it's hard to find an email.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so that was the intention, and we thought that let's have a separate email account, and we're starting a new life here in Australia. So probably that's the first thing we both should do, and kind of get ourselves into that email. Then we reached out to the recruiters and got up with some arranged some coffee catch-ups with them and things like that.
Yeah.
However, I want to point out here that the first state in Australia that we both landed was not Victoria. And can I say here that Adelaide, where we had landed,
Mhm.
it wasn't as easy to find a job as it was in Victoria. The
Yeah.
reason being it's a small place and you don't have many options there.
Mhm.
So that was hard,
Yeah,
really.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Very interesting. So, that's an interesting point that you mentioned that you created a new email. That's something I don't think anyone has said so far. So, good advice. And it's also important to have a professional looking email instead of Nisha
Exactly.
1998 or whatever. All those stuff. It's always good
No.
to have a professional looking email. So that's a really good point. So you mentioned that you were already lined up for coffee catch up. So were you used to that concept of coffee catch ups, or what were your initial thoughts about that?
No, I wasn't, and that was actually a pretty big thing for me. And in back from India where we come, we usually have a bit of an email chat with the recruiter. We have a phone call with them. We would never like catch them out of work for a coffee or
Yeah.
things like that. It was a bit awkward initially, but then the good thing was that we had some friends here who knew how the I would say the process and the mechanics here work with recruitment agencies,
Hmm.
and they told us that this is how you've got to catch them first and meet them, and it's a bit of more like networking
Yeah.
with them. So we understood and we embraced the fact that okay, this is how the things will work. And the other thing that I'll point out here is it was very important actually, and we probably didn't realize it until we landed here, and it gets us back to okay, we did this prep and then we came here probably in May 2017. And when we came here, we went for interviews, and obviously those catch-ups and all didn't exactly help us to get the job, because all we were doing is just letting them know this is what we are doing and this is what we are looking for in a job.
Hmm.
However, when you go and meet a person directly and you try to make them understand that okay, this is my profile and I'm looking for a job, they wouldn't necessarily hand over you the job in your hand. Okay, there
Yeah.
you go, you match the profile A to Z, and there it is. That's not how it worked.
Yeah.
The important thing here was I'm going to the maybe I'm jumping the gun a
Nah,
bit,
nah,
but
go
I'm
for it.
trying to get
It's your story.
okay. I'm okay. So I'm trying to get here how from day one when we landed here and I got a job, that whole process.
Yeah.
So first day we are here just trying to understand the transport, and it's hard because the whole web of network, the buses and MTRs and all those basic stuff, getting our bank details sorted and all the day-to-day stuff we need, groceries and all of that stuff.
Hmm.
So that's all done in a day or two, and we are like, okay, what next? Now we've got the lineups with the recruiters, we are catching up, we started applying for jobs. Maybe more than 100 jobs, 200, and we really didn't know exactly how to apply, the approach of applying and the way to prepare a resume exactly, because that's not what your friends tell you, or nobody's there to spoon feed you, right? They give you a direction, this is where you need to go, but then you got to make your own decision and your own pathway.
Yeah.
What works for you, customize it according to your own job profile. So yeah, I was there meeting a couple of recruiters, talking to other agencies directly, and also went for a couple of interviews, almost a month of interviews. And I think after a month, I realized that every meetup or every not meetup, but I would say every recruiter or every interview that I used to go to, I used to have a lot of conversation with them. So the people are very chatty, I would say,
Yeah.
which is a good thing. They want to talk to you and not just about your job.
Mm.
They would talk to you about things like weather. How's the weather like today? And I'm like, oh, I haven't even checked it this morning. Isn't that weird? And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, that is weird because I don't know what is it going to rain today. I have no idea. Absolutely.
I'm
All
sure
right, the
that changed
footy.
now since you moved to Melbourne.
Yeah. Actually, more in fact in Adelaide.
Yeah.
So both the places, and they used to ask the footy and other stuff, what's going in and around, and I understood there and then. I'm like, if I don't talk to them about what's happening around, if I don't embrace the culture, as in if I don't understand what the people are up to here in this country, I'm not going to be a fit
Mm,
in the organization anyway. Because if I know what I'm working on, if I even if I fit the job description, nobody's going to give me a job just because I fit the job description. If I don't know how to talk to people, if I can't make a conversation at my workplace, I'm probably not the best fit for that job, right?
yeah,
So I think the point here to make is when you move to a different country, you've got to understand their culture. You've got to understand what they want to talk to you about, not just be in your own shell and do your work end of the day and just go home.
mm,
You have to make a
yeah,
conversation and embrace the culture.
yeah,
That's the whole idea.
absolutely.
I
That's a really good point, and I think that's a common mistake that most migrants make out of here. Yes, I understand your the culture is important to you. I mean, wherever you're coming from, culture is important to you, but culture and beliefs as well, right? But if you bring that culture and belief over here, and if you live the way you lived, and then you get frustrated that nothing is happening to me, that's kind of not fair, because you're coming to a different country and you're saying you have to adapt to my culture instead of you adapting to their culture, right? I'm not saying you have to change. Everyone is respected over here. Australia is such a multicultural country that every belief is even if it's I know I don't want to say even if it's stupid, but even if it's not right, it is respected over here. So unless you are ready to accept and have an open heart or an open mind of other cultures, it will be really hard for you. And usually the first question that I get from people who are looking to migrate is Australia a racist country? I'd say, if you overly do stuff, people will call out on you. I mean, that's obvious,
exactly.
but I've never faced such an instance. Yes, one or two things over here and there, and that's kind of blown out in the media, and that's what happens. So unless you do your bit, you're not going to get that back. That's key over here.
Exactly.
So,
Yep.
really good way to put that, Nisha. And one question for you: did landing in Adelaide actually help you? Because it's a small market, there are less people, there are less recruiters, but that means you could get more attention as well. These days, what I see is people just go to Melbourne and Sydney because they are huge markets and they think they can get a job easier. But the competition is way higher in Melbourne and Sydney as well, right? So, was that kind of a uh, advantage for you moving into Adelaide?
Um, I don't think so. Actually, if you look at it the other hand, I was having a lot of competition there.
Mhm.
It might look like the people are less there, but in a place like Adelaide, we have a lot of competition. We have a lot of people, and well, I was just trying to come to the point that in that 1 month's time when I was finding the job, I got a job in the second month, probably 40 days of landing here, and I had a job offer in my hand, but on the other hand, my husband struggled there for almost 6 months and he didn't have a job there.
Okay.
So it wasn't very easy. And I wouldn't even bias it for the profile that I had a testing profile and he had a database profile. So he probably took more time, but it was more about, and I always tell him that the same thing. And it took him a while to understand that you've got to strike the conversation. And he's not probably as chatty and as outgoing as I am. And maybe that took him a little bit time to, connect to people at a level where they would trying to get him to.
Your
So
story sounds exactly like mine and Anita's as well. So same story. She
yeah,
got a job in 2 weeks and she tried to push me. I did not go. It took me 8 months. So I think it's all
and he
about
was
how you approach and what do you do about yourself. Because again, as I said, that was my culture. That was my belief. I only apply online and people should get back to me. That was my belief. But that's not the way it works here, right? So I just kept cribbing about something that was not right in the first place.
I kept pushing my husband. I kept telling him to go to meetups and events. And I used to go to almost every meetup. And my schedule in that first 1 month, would you believe, was so busy that from morning till evening, I used to go to library. I used to go to the computer. I was having a full 8 hour day.
Okay.
And on the other hand, yeah, so it was pretty busy and it was stressful, but I was so busy that the stress used to just pass and subside in a corner because of being so busy on that routine
Yeah,
basis.
and then it's important to be busy. Otherwise, you just go with the flow, and things that get lost, and you go a bit demotivated as well. So, did you have any bad experiences over here in terms of job search, or anything that kind of shocked you or you did not expect? I'm not saying it as bad. It's everything is a learning experience. So something that was entirely different from what you expected.
Mm, not exactly that I can think of. Actually, people have been very welcoming, and especially the people here when you apply for jobs and everything. So, not exactly that I recall
Okay.
being a bad experience or a, but I think I've got something here to add, a learning experience, I
Yeah.
would say. Because what happened one time when I was in that first month of applying, you don't understand exactly when to call a person or a
Mhm.
recruiter, or exactly, what is the best time. So I think at one point I called a recruiter at 5:05 or 5:10 or something, and maybe
Mhm.
the recruiter was on the way back home,
Yeah.
and I got a very rude and instant reply that, do you think I'm supposed to work after 5 and answer your calls? And it's not a good time. And I was like, I was taken aback, and I
Yeah.
immediately disconnected the phone. And I told my husband, and later on, I'm like, well, in a way, it's true. You can't just call a person outside of their work hours just because you need a job, right?
Absolutely.
So I think that was something that I understood. I'm like, no, I'm not going to call anybody after 5 or before 8 or whenever, their work hours are, because that's not how it should be if
Yeah.
you look at it.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. I mean, I think it's very, very, very important to think that recruiters are humans. They are not there to, give out jobs. That's not their thing. And they don't work for you either. They work for clients, right? So it's important to
exactly.
respect what they're going through, their time, their busy lives. I mean,
Yeah.
recruitment is not an easy job. It's a crazy job. I mean, every recruiter that I've talked to have said the same thing. So I think you got a job within 2 months, and all the stuff that you did, your networking, talking to people, and your uh,
Absolutely.
people skills had a big role in that. Um, and then you moved to Victoria after a year or two, I think.
Yep. I think I moved to Victoria after a year.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
After 2 years,
so
probably.
you
Yeah.
had to start job searching here again, and was it different? Was it difficult, or how did that go the second time around?
Okay. Yeah, I'll come back to that now. So I was working in Adelaide and Court Services. It was Courts Administration Authority, and prior to that, actually, let me start with the first role I got in Adelaide. It was the most fascinating project I have worked so far in my testing domain and
Mm-hmm.
career, and it's probably Adelaide Airport's project. So was testing Australia's first cloud-hosted management system, testing the resource management for check-in, desks, belts, and everything. So worked there for almost a year, and I think that helped me secure my second role in Adelaide, which was a courts administration authority,
Mm-hmm.
where it was a similar sort of a courts case management system where the users can lodge the cases online anytime, anywhere. After that second role, my husband, because he was struggling a lot in Adelaide and he didn't have much to look up to,
Mm-hmm.
in a span of 2 years, I think he was working for just 8 months, which is not a good sign for anybody to,
Yeah.
think of their career as. And that's the reason we moved to Melbourne. And when we were moving to Melbourne, I started applying again, and I was back at that place, and I had a good secure role there. But due to our personal choices, we decided to move here. And I started the same thing actually. I went online on LinkedIn. I searched for the recruiters in Melbourne, started reaching them out, and chatting with them about, can we have a catch up when I land here. And I was all prepared that when I land here, I'm not going to have a job. I'm just going to be sitting at home, enjoy this time, and reach to the recruiters. And I was pretty confident that in last 2 years, I've made a mark on my professional profile that people probably would welcome and try to at least have a chat with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was pretty confident on that fact.
Mm-hmm.
So started using LinkedIn, and to my surprise, I got a virtual Skype interview from one of the recruiters in Melbourne, and she hooked up me with a guy, a recruiter, and then we had a chat, another one. So I was having a job offer even while giving a Skype video interview, and I had a job when I landed here. I had a job
Awesome.
to just, yeah, and to add to that, the place where I was currently working on, Courts Administration Authority, they had another project running in Victoria, and they offered me another one, saying, "Okay, we know you're moving to Melbourne, you're quitting us, but would you like to join us in Melbourne?" I said, "Okay, sure." And so I don't think I had challenges when I moved to Melbourne. I was more than happy. I had two offers in my hand, and I
Yeah.
was like, "Okay, ready to go."
So I think that was a really good story, and definitely the homework or the groundwork that you did helped you create. I mean, people call it lucky, People say, I'm lucky that I didn't
I
have to
don't think
struggle.
so.
But the way I say it, you created that luck. You did that
Definitely.
homework and you created that foundation so that more luck is attracted to you. I mean, in a way, if I could say it right. So, uh, um, um, uh, good story. That's all I have to say. Everything worked out,
Yeah.
and talking to people is key over here. So, a curious thing. I mean, I think you reached out to me out of the blue. I mean, you were working. I mean, I'm just trying to
Yes.
emphasize why you have to continue networking even after you had a good job. You did not have to network anymore, but you still reached out to me, and I think we went out for a lunch for the first time.
Yes.
Um, just a curious question. Why did you do that? And why would you encourage other people to do things like this?
Sure. So yeah, I had a job and I probably had no intentions to reach out to Vinesh apart from the fact that I just wanted to connect to him. I was watching his LinkedIn profiles and his updates, and I was like, he's doing a really good job. And I myself had volunteered at two different organizations. That was probably one of the key features I missed. When I was in Adelaide, that first 1 month or 2 months I had vacant with me, I used to volunteer at two different organizations, twice each, so two different days. And with that volunteering experience, I realized that the more you meet with people, the more you talk to them, the more you understand their experiences and their cultures. And it's just best for you to, share your experiences and let the other person know and get
Mhm.
the same feelings out of them. So when I moved to Melbourne, I again had a new start, basically a new start in terms of networking
Yeah.
and trying to understand how the, because definitely it's too different, even though it's Australia, but still I have myself felt that the people are very different
Yeah.
in Adelaide and in Melbourne. So I just wanted to reach out to people and see how the networking works here, or even I think I was more influenced from Vinesh's LinkedIn posts, and I was trying to understand, oh my god, he's doing such a good job, and I just want to offer if I could be of any help or
Yeah.
assistance, because I've, even though I've not technically been through that phase, my husband has been, and I've seen him at home, and I
Yeah.
understand the struggles of a migrant and how you would feel when you're struggling to get the foot in the door. So
Hmm.
that was the whole intention. I just thought it's
Absolutely.
best if I reach you, and I think it's best if I can let other people know as well. If that's the thing you're gonna do, the one thing I would say is that you're not going to lose anything. If you don't gain anything, that's fine. You still remain at zero, but at least you're not going negative.
Yeah.
So there is still a chance that you might just try to learn something.
Hmm.
So yeah, just out of
Absolutely.
curiosity, I was like, I'll just try, and I had no issues with, I'm still continuing with the same job that I came to Melbourne for, and
Yeah.
I just wanted to expand my circle, and it's best to talk to other people sometimes. You
Absolutely. I mean,
sometimes get a solution to something you're thinking in your mind.
I couldn't agree more, Nisha, and that's exactly why I like. I mean, people don't get the point of networking. I mean, you yourself struggle to explain that to your husband why you should do this, and unless you do it, you don't get the point out of it.
No,
Now, I think after that, you attended one of my meetups as well. So, what did you think about the chat conversations you had with people over there? Uh, 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 to add to that question, what would be your advice to them? I mean, after talking to so many people in that group, I think you were a really good help on that day. So, what advice would you give to that people, and what did you think about that meetup in general?
sure. So yeah, I came to, I think, two of your meetups. The first one was more like a casual one, maybe a 10-minute walk
Yeah.
sort of a thing, and the second one was more formal one.
Hmm.
And at the formal one, I saw so many people around me, and just the format of the meetup that you had, getting through the resumes, cover letters, and all the important things. The best thing was there was a forum there where a lot of people were called on, and they were asked to share their stories.
Yeah.
So what went right for them, what didn't go right for them, and the other people who were around there. For example, if I'm a newbie, if I'm just trying to apply for my first job, and if I get to know what went wrong for me,
Mhm.
I really won't make that mistake, so it saves me at least 10 different attempts of applying for a job and getting that rejection
Yeah.
back from the recruiter for that reason. So that's one thing that you would probably gain. And I also learned a lot of things personally.
Hmm.
There were a lot of things on the LinkedIn profile that needs attention, and I updated my profile there and then while I was sitting, and I'm like, oh, this is what I need to really do right now.
Yeah.
So I did that. And the other thing was, apart from, if you keep the job factor aside, there were so many people there that I saw my wavelength matching with. And personally, thanks to you, Vinesh, because of that meetup, I've actually made very good friends, not just professionally, but I have connected with them personally as well. So yeah, I've got to go to coffee catch-ups and lunches, and some of them are really dear friends now, and we usually chat on weekly basis or something. So I think as a person, I kind of grew myself up from one level to another. That hesitation that I had in, oh, how the people in Melbourne gonna be, are they, will they be as comfortable as talking to me? Will I be in that zone where I was 2 years back? So I think that removed that hesitation from my personal front, and I was more confident in talking to people, not just about job and searches, but also about the personal factors in life. And to my surprise, I found somebody from my hometown back in India. I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
this she just lives next door. She was a neighbor, so it
interesting.
becomes the world becomes a small place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and I remember, we went for dinner after that. The punch that
Yep.
they went, and that that created a better connection among us as well. So like you said, this is just not about getting a job. It's never about getting a job. It's about the connections that you make. You're in a new country. You need people around you. You can't think that, okay, I have my family and I can live on my own. That's not the way it works. You eventually need some friends and family, friends and connections around you, and I'm glad to have you on board as well, Nisha. So I think our time's up. So thank you so much for sharing your story. It was wonderful talking to you. And for once, I think I had to talk less than the guest. You were on full gear, top gear all the time. So thank you so
I
much.
have one last time actually to
Go
add.
for it.
Can I just sum it up? Okay, it's nothing to do with job and stuff, but that's my personal experience. If you could add 20 to 30 minutes of fitness in your daily regime,
Absolutely.
and that helps you personally, mentally at all levels, because that's what I have been doing, and I have probably not added that before.
Mm.
I just thought I'll put it in the end, and maybe a lot of people don't think it's important, but if you work out or do exercise, go for a walk, meditation, yoga, anything you probably enjoy doing 20 to 30 minutes a day, that makes a lot of difference. It changes your mood instantly. And the moment you start feeling good, you start having those positive vibes, and it ultimately adds to the whole persona of your personality, or I think overall effect to your whatever you're trying to do in life. So just wanted to add it. And I'm no health and fitness expert here or a coach here, but that's just my personal experience, and maybe you could give it a try and see how it works out for you.
Absolutely, and I can't agree more that that is really, really, really important during this time. You're not getting out of your home, you're not doing anything, you're just getting frustrated. Even though you don't admit it, your physical and mental health is taking a toll. I'm sure
It is.
you're not ready to admit it, but it is taking a toll. So it's very, very, very important that you move, go for a walk. The easiest thing, I mean, just go for a walk. Just clear out your mind, go for a walk. You're allowed to do that today, even if you're in Melbourne. So please do that as well. So thank you so much for adding that important point
Thank you.
to the end, Nisha, and it was a wonderful story. If any of who's watching this, if they'd like to connect to Nisha, I mean, LinkedIn is the best place to connect to you, Nisha.
Definitely.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, yes.
So go ahead and connect to her if you have any questions for her, or if you have any questions for me, please leave a comment. You can leave a comment on LinkedIn or YouTube, and I'll get back to you. And I'll thanks for your time. Thanks for your time, Nisha, and all to all our viewers. I'll see you for the next
Thank
episode.
you for having me over.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure to have.
All
Thank
right.
you. Thanks for
Bye bye.
everyone for watching. Bye.